So hey guys, this video is interesting. I kind of already did a video. Well, okay, I'm making this intro after I already started the video. Basically, I'd been looking on Craigslist to see if there were any crested geckos for adoption, females, because I have females. And I'm like hoping to introduce them and then like keep them in one tank, since you can't pair male and female together without babies and males don't get along, and like, so I just stick with females. But most of them were males available, and I finally found one locally, so I was living in Sacramento and I just moved to Reno yesterday. So I went to go pick this guy up in Reno, and then this guy is in like the lizard. Sorry, I'm like all over the place. I got no sleep. So I went to pick her up and I go in this person's house, and first of all, I talked them down to $30 from $200. The original post included the terrarium, but I was like, I don't need the terrarium. I have lots of terrariums. So I was like, I'm good. Can I take her for $30? And she's like, okay. And it had been listed for like a month, and that should have been, a little bit of a red flag for me. And then also I asked, I was like, hey, I'm out of town. Would you mind waiting like till next week and I can pick her up? And she was like, oh, sure, no problem. And I was kind of like, okay, thanks. Like that works out. But then I was thinking about it after, and I was like, that was kind of weird. Like, you should be able to sell it sooner than that, I would think. And then I walk in and, she kind of gets her out. First of all, she's huge compared to what I thought she'd be. Crested geckos, most lizards reach their full size within about a year. And I'm learning that crested geckos grow way slower than that. My little babies that are almost a year old, well, the one that is almost a year old, she's 11 months old, she's only 30 grams, and I looked it up, and females get like to 60 to 65 grams, and this one's I haven't weighed her yet, but she is like on that high end of the female weight category for crested geckos, because she is a chunk. But yeah, so I get her, and they put her in this little like carrier I brought, and she was like, you might just not want to handle her. Like she's pretty finicky with handling, not great with it since we haven't been handling her lately. And I was like, okay, like, that's normal. And I was like, has she ever bitten? Like, is that what this lady's trying to tell me without saying it? I was like, has she ever, like nipped you guys? And she like paused and thought about what she wanted to say. She's like, yeah, she has, but it just feels like a little like tap on the finger. Like it doesn't hurt that bad. And I was like, okay, because none of my lizards has ever bit me before, and especially my crested geckos, they're so chill, and I was not expecting. She's like, but crested geckos. I was like, mine are fine. So I don't get your crested gecko. And then I was like, shoot, like I will try to tame this lizard, but I'm not an expert by any means. So then the update is, after I'm gonna insert that video of me driving home after the initial reaction to finding out this lizard's a biter right now, and then I'll follow up. Okay, so hey guys, crazy story. I'm insane. So I just got a chameleon like 4 days ago, and then I saw a Craigslist ad for a crested gecko female like mine, and I was like, I could just I have a giant tank for my crested geckos now, like I'll go pick this one up and they can all live together. They're all about a year old, because the lady said it was about a year old. She was selling it like for really cheap. Well, that's not true. So she was originally selling it for like $200, and I was like, I don't need the tank. Can I just take the lizard for like $30, which is really low for a crested gecko? And she was like, yeah, that's fine. And I waited she was fine waiting like 2 weeks to have me pick it up, which also should have been kind of sus, but I didn't see it as a red flag, because my crested geckos and all the ones I've really met have been super, super sweet. And so I go pick it up today because it's time, and she takes it out, and first of all, it is not a year old. It has to be at least 2. It's definitely over 60 grams. It's a huge crested gecko, and she has to like fiddle it out of the cage, and I give her my container, and she's like, she doesn't really love to be handled. She's not very good with it right now. And I was like, oh, okay, like, handling, like I can work with that. My crested geckos don't love me to like reach in and take them out, but like I can do it, you know what I mean? And she's a lot bigger than when they were babies, so I was like, cool. But I was like, you know, has she ever nipped at you guys? Like, should I be weary of that? Oh, almost missed my turn. And she's like, and I could tell she was like hesitating, and she's like, yeah, she's a little nippy. Like, she's nipped us once or twice, but when she does it, like, you know, it hardly hurts more than this. And she like tapped my wrist, and I was like, lizard bites. I've still never been bit by a lizard, but I was like, lizard bites, you know, they're gonna hurt a little more than that, especially from one that big. Like, it's a big crested gecko. And so this was after I paid her. I asked about the nipping, and so I was like, okay. And so I don't know, like, I was expecting to house this lizard with my other geckos, and I'm like, if she doesn't like having people handle her, and she was living on her own for like 2 years or more, she's probably not gonna like living with my 4 little crusties. So I think I'm just gonna have to, you know, set up like a separate tank for her. Excuse me. And yeah, I'm gonna have to set up a separate tank for her. And sorry, these angles are like not cute. I'm obviously driving right now, but I'm gonna set up a separate tank, I think, until my crusties at least get that big. And that's assuming she's not biting me every time I take her out. Like, I don't want to be bit, but I might be bit a couple times. But I hope I can teach her to trust me. And I'm hoping, you know, like, maybe they were just bad with taking care of her, and that like she, you know, didn't get taken out regularly enough. So yeah, this will be interesting. I have her with me. I can show you guys a clip in a second, but we'll see how taming this lizard goes. And I've got to tame my chameleon, because panther chameleons are like, chameleons themselves are pretty notorious for having bad attitudes. And Cliff had a very good attitude, but he has to me occasionally when he was like scared of me because he didn't understand me. But like, that was only twice. But yeah, and then Juno, my chameleon, hissed at me twice today too, but didn't bite. But like, still, chameleons are more nippy than bearded dragons. So if anyone's likely to, it's likely to be my chameleon or this crested gecko who has like aggression issues. Yeah, it's gonna be interesting. So hopefully I can tame them, and hopefully they are nice to me, and maybe like people were just picking them up the wrong way or didn't hang out with them enough. Yeah, I'm nervous. I'll let you guys know how it goes. Yeah, so basically then the next day, I didn't want to touch her or take her out of that like little carrier the first day. And then I looked, and she's in shed today. So that might be like why the lady thought she was grumpy. But I had her like crawl into my hand, so I haven't picked her up yet. She crawled into my hand both times when I took her out, and then when I put her back in her cage or carrier. And she was totally fine. It's not like she was freaking, like, she was a little spazzy almost, but which I wasn't expecting, because she was spazzier than like most of my babies, and my babies should be spazzier than a fully grown adult. Yeah, this lady was totally off. She's like, she's a year old, and I'm like, this lizard's at least 2 or 3 years old, like, just by the size. Anyways, yeah, but I held her. She was okay. She was kind of like licking me to figure out what I was and who I was and catch a scent. But yeah, she was okay, little spazzo, but she didn't try to like bite or anything, and I wasn't grabbing her either. And this poor lizard. So she went through shed. She's going through shed right now. And then the lady told me, she's like, yeah, she had a tail until like last week when she got out and the cat got it. And I was like, this sounds like a very high stress situation for this poor little lizard. So I'm hoping it was just kind of the stress of having kids reach in her cage. This mom, maybe she didn't handle her right. The cat, she also said the cat like is used to sitting on top of the lizard cages, which I'm like, that's stressful. So hoping everything goes well so far. Stella's her name. She has not bit me. So I'll keep you guys updated, but yeah, I'll show you her enclosure right now. Here right now, I put a little plant and food and water in there for her. And she actually didn't eat much last night. It looks like the first night her food was completely gone. There she is. And she pooped, so that's good because I do know she's eating. But yeah, she's doing okay so far. I hope she's sweet. Sounds like she was a little feisty based off what that lady had told me, but so far so good. I'm just here to update you guys on Stella. I've had her for about a week and a half now. All right, so I've had Stella for about a week and a half now. She's been really great. She's not really fired up right now, but she's got some Dalmatian spots. She's got a little frog butt. She's a little hoppy. I think I mentioned that in a video when I've been handling her. She's been jumpy and like a little skittish, but I think that's just that she's not used to like good interaction with people. But so far she's never bit me. She's never been aggressive or hissed or made any kind of noises or anything. So I've really been happy with her. I had mentioned the story of her adoption a couple times. What does suck is I didn't realize how big she was when I got her. I didn't realize that they were like, she'd be like 65 grams and that my little babies at a year old are only like, the oldest is like 30 grams right now. And I don't know, I thought that because the lady told me that Stella was a year old, and she's obviously not because she's so big. But yeah, so I've had to kind of make some like strange, unexpected accommodations for her tank because she can't live with my other ones, and I was planning on integrating them. Sorry if like the video's crooked. I just moved and I'm trying to like find a new setup. So sorry if any footage is crooked, you guys, but yeah, she's kind of chilling out now. She gets used to it and she's really sweet. So I'm very happy with her. She did lose her tail before I got her. They told me that like a cat had got to her, like she got out of the tank and a cat chased her and got it or scared her so bad that she dropped her tail. I have noticed it's kind of strange. My little crested geckos don't bug me, I think because their nails are so small, but I am allergic to like a couple different kinds of animals. Not that it's ever stopped me. Like I'm allergic to my cat, but I still have her. But I have noticed I like break out in really tiny hives because of Stella's nails. So interesting. But yeah, no, she's a really good girl and I'm very happy with her. Yeah, so far it's been a really successful adoption. I just wish, you know, that like the owner, maybe she was unaware, but like had informed me of Stella's real age, because then it would have, you know, prepared to have a tank for her ahead of time. But this has been a successful adoption, and yeah, and I also have adopted, well, I didn't adopt, I bought another animal, and that's kind of a failed story, so maybe I'll get into that. I'm still like trying to figure out how I want to handle the situation, so I will update you guys on that later. But yeah, Stella, for a week and a half, I've just been really gentle. At first, I didn't grab her because I didn't know how she felt about that. I only let her, so like I'd take her stuff out of her tank so I could clean it, and she'd kind of get like, like I want to get out of here. And so she'd start crawling up the side, and I just let her crawl up the side into my hand. So like I wasn't grabbing her for the first couple days, just so she like got my smell and she understood that I wasn't gonna hurt her. And then after that, I did grab her, not like aggressively. Like I think a lot of people don't understand maybe how to hold crested geckos. Like no lizard wants to be picked up from above. So, and you definitely don't want to go for like the throat or the body. Like you don't want to pinch them. You really do have to like go under them to make them feel safe. So I usually grab them by under their neck with one finger. Here, let me see if I can show you. I grab them under the neck and then I pull up. And when I put my other hand out, I put her chin on top of my hand so that she doesn't feel like threatened by me. So yeah, this is how I handle her. She seemed pretty good with handling. Maybe it was just like the being picked up, or they also don't like to be woken up sometimes. So I usually like started taking things out of her cage just so that she like heard the rustling and kind of woke up, so that I didn't, you know, scare her and wake her up to me grabbing her. All right, so this is Stella. She's getting a little hoppy, so I'm gonna put her back in her cage. But yeah, it's a successful adoption story. I'm very happy I get to keep this little lady, and thank you guys for watching.